Then you can start recording. Okay, great. Hey guys, my name is Moses Sampal. We have KG, Pradeep, Mahima, Prashant, Amit, Shubham. Okay, Rajshekhar, Richa, Samruta, Achit, start. Abhishek. Abhishek, are you part of quantum cryptography apprenticeship team? Oh yes, mic isn't connected. Abhishek, can you hear us? Oh man, few more people are joining. 1 second. Yeah. All right. 1 second. Sorry about this. Yeah, I saw that Samruta. It's okay. Huh. Cool. Guys, before we start, quick announcement about what we are planning. So, like how August is cryptography month within QCI, next month is going to be QML based. It's 4 weeks again. Okay. Huh. So as you all know, last week, like 20 apprentices we have selected within QCI, and everyone has been working on one of the 4 different verticals that we are going to target at least this year, right? One is quantum cryptography, quantum finance, quantum machine learning. Then the other one is quantum finance, quantum cryptography, quantum machine learning, and quantum hardware. Okay. So we have been meeting almost every day for half an hour at least. Most of you here have been meeting. A few people who are new here. Richa, can you quickly introduce yourself? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, hi. So I'm a lead software engineer at SocGen.
Okay.
And I'm working mostly on the finance, and I'm a full stack developer, and there I worked on the different technology also. So this is the first time I'm exploring the quantum technology, and that's why I connected on the QC, and after that I got to know like one session is going on.
Right.
I'm looking forward on this.
All right.
Yeah.
And Abhishek, are you here? Can you hear us? Abhishek, you're muted if you're able to hear. So Richa, I hope you had gone through the notes of the last session and the videos as well, right?
Yeah, I gone, but something is not clear also. But yeah,
Right.
I have gone through.
Correct. Yeah. So that will happen. I mean, we just have to note down the questions, ask us in the next session, okay, and or even now. So what today's plan is very simple. KG will quickly take us through what we have done the last session, and then find out. I hope you guys have installed. If not, okay. So basic system requirements are there. Where is KG? She just disappeared. Okay, internet issue. Right. I hope everyone has Python installed and right on your laptop, because today it's going to be a pure hands-on session. All right.
So
We'll be
I'm getting error. I have installed Python, but pip install is not working there.
Okay.
So maybe your pip is not working. So maybe pip was not installed. Something like that. If it says pip is not recognized, then You need to run, I guess, get pip script, and then you can install all the libraries.
Okay. Okay, maybe we'll check.
Huh.
Yeah.
What happened to KJ? Hmm. One second. Mhm. Prashant, you were saying something?
Hello,
Yeah.
can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Okay. KJ is back.
Hey,
All right. Cool. Great.
yeah, my laptop restarting.
Ah.
I joined from phone.
Okay.
I will join in laptop in few minutes. I
Okay.
will continue here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'll share the screen. You wanna take us through what has happened last week, and then once your laptop starts, you can get into the hands-on part, right? KG?
Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. My laptop restarted. I starting now. Just give me 1 or 2 minutes. I will join in Zoom.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So while KG is joining, we'll also talk about what we are planning in the near term, at least from a learning perspective. So all these different teams that are working, on 4 different verticals will be given half an hour time slots on Sundays. So Sundays 4 to 6 p.m. we are planning to have a session like this where our apprentices who have been reading research papers and writing around these different topics will present their learnings. Okay, so half an hour slot for each of these things. We'll start off with quantum finance. In quantum finance, what we are doing is trying to understand what we have done till now in terms of the use case that we are trying to solve, right? The options portfolio optimization modeling. So that's going on. With respect to quantum hardware, inside quantum hardware, there are like quantum microarchitectures, the 3 different things that we are working on. But Quantum Hardware 101 is the session tomorrow by Nilay, Kedar, and Parth. So all 3 of them will be giving like a half an hour talk when tomorrow's meeting with all the apprentices. Don't worry, I'm just telling you what are all the future things that are aligned in the coming weeks. And then next Sunday onwards, we'll have 4 to 6 sessions like this. So Saturday is 4 to 6 session, which will be done by a facilitator, right?
Okay.
Facilitator meaning people who are experienced in this field, right? Be it practical knowledge or theoretical knowledge. And so next Saturday we have Dr. Urvashi with us. She's a very interesting person. She's also one of the people who is drafting the India's quantum related policies. So we'll be working together with her in transforming QCI into a incubation center that we really wanted to start in the first place, right? And so that is next Saturday. Sunday will be the peer learning session that will be starting. Next Sunday will be again these 4 teams that will be presenting, and that will continue for the future. The Saturday sessions 4 to 6 is going to be team based. It's going to be like how this month is kind of currently in cryptography. Next month is QML, and every 1 month of learning will essentially culminate into finding out one use case, and we'll put together a team and we'll start hacking this problem. Okay, I hope that's clear. So Saturdays facilitator series, which is team based. Sundays is peer learning series, which is our apprentices who are learning in different fields, finance, cryptography, hardware, and machine learning, will present their learnings over that 2 hour session. Okay, so that's the house rules and announcements. Now, with respect
Yeah.
to coming back to quantum cryptography, last week we started with understanding, like basics of cryptographic algorithms, the need for cryptographic algorithm, history of cryptographic algorithm, types of cryptographic, symmetric and asymmetric. And today, KG will kind of give an overview of what has been covered till like last Saturday. And then we'll get into hands-on implementation. And whoever is facing issues with respect to installation, those things you can ask KG in like 5 minutes once he has done through the previous week session. KG, over to you.
Yeah.
Just a sec. Sorry, guys, to disturb, but like in the WhatsApp group, few people are not able to join, so I just wanted to ask Sam if you can have a look at it.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna start this and I'm gonna go there.
Yeah.
Cool, KG.
Okay, thank you. Give me permission to share my screen.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm able to share. Thank you.
All right.
So last week we discussed about various symmetric and asymmetric cryptography algorithms, right? So just we will review them very fast forward. Then we will focus on hands-on, meaning how to implement those algorithms in classical approach. So you may recall that we have symmetric algorithms and asymmetric algorithm. In the symmetric algorithm, we had, yeah, so you're seeing my screen right now?
Yeah.
Yes, KG.
Yes.
And there was a history. Then in the symmetric, we had seen that cipher, simple, and then asymmetric we had is DES and AES, then RSA. Right? These are the three things what we discussed last week. So today we have to continue the theory part with this RSA and DFKE and ECC and X255919 and 24519. Instead of jumping into theory, I prefer to have some hands-on, because that hands-on is always going to help us from the execution point of view, and that will give some idea rather than theoretically saying that. Having a hands-on will help us to reinforce our learning what we had last week in theoretical discussion. So for that, I have collected some 5 to 6 programs which are very easy to understand, but they will cover the basics of quantum computing. Cryptography, classical cryptography. So for first session of today, we will focus on hands-on. After hands-on is completed, we will focus on some theoretical aspects of cryptography, where we will cover key management and some hacking incidents which made the world to think about the limitations of the cryptography algorithms, and then how it is impacting business and how it is impacting the security of the whole system. And this is related to theory and key management, then hacking incidents. Okay. Hope we are good with the plan. Let me start with the programs. I'm not sure how you guys are using. I'm using Visual Studio Code or Visual Code and command line prompt as my working model. Let me do it this way. Actually, this is how I used to do it. So here I will open that folder this way and keep all the programs within that folder ready. First, we will start with RSA from scratch. Then we will move to basic cipher basic encryption, authentication, then AES and RSA, then two-way authentication like that. So here you will have an opportunity to see the actual programs, how they are creating keys and how that encryption looks like and how those things are being serialized, authenticated, verified, all those things. Okay. And explain the context clearly. Let us start with, can I proceed this way? So let me record that here. So like this. Today's session, there will be hands-on, then we will review the previous day. The three major sessions for the day. So most of my implementations are based on the package called cryptography, and all these are based on Python. For simplicity, we decided to use Python, but it doesn't mean that you have to use Python only. If you are a Java or C person, you can do the same thing in your preferred language also. So each language have a similar platform or similar package for implementing cryptography related algorithms. And anybody is from other environment like C or Java who already have experience with the cryptography implementation, you can respond in.
I am from Java background, but didn't explore more on cryptography.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? You can reply in the chat. Okay. RSA using which language? Python. Okay. Okay. All right. That's good. So let me start from RSA from scratch. See the algorithm the program what I'm going to show you now, it won't use any cryptography specific packages. It is raw implementation, meaning that from scratch. You can see here I'm just importing only decimal package, and I have created a function which is a GCD, which will give you the greatest common divisor of two numbers by using the remainder operator. This percentage is the remainder operator. Okay. Sorry, reminder. Okay, it is always getting confused. And the actual program starts here. We are getting two inputs, and this is the cipher text. The number is the cipher number for the plain number. For the time being, we'll consider that we are entering a number. That number only will be encrypted. Okay. So let us assume that I am going to select. I will run now. Okay. You see my screen clearly, right? Here I am running Python from scratch, RSA underscore scratch dot. It's asking for P. Let us assume that I am giving 53 as P and 59 as some another prime. The value I am giving 8. I'm assuming A, B, C, D from the time coding. H means 8, I means 9, like that. This is my own coding system. And you can see here, this is when it is transmitted, it will be transmitted as 512 because that is a ciphertext. At the receiver end, it will be decrypted to 8, back to 8. So the program clearly encrypts and decrypts a given information. This is clear, right? Now let us see how it is working. For this, I would like to open an Excel and I will show you if any of the team members knows how it works and they think that this walkthrough or this hands-on is not necessary, we can jump to next topic. Are there anybody? Please reply in chat, because it is going to take some time, right? And the very fundamental concept, how a prime number multiplication and then how that being converted into ciphertext, then how we are decrypting back in the very low level or very basic level. Any of you think that it is not necessary, we can jump into advanced concept? Okay, I believe that everybody is ready for this understanding the basics, right? Okay, cool. Let us focus on the fundamentals. Because this understanding will help you how a cryptographic system works at the base level or at the fundamental level. Without this understanding, if you go to next level, we will have a feeling that something is missing, how it is being transmitted, how it is being encrypted, how this number is being calculated, all those things. That's why I prefer to focus on fundamentals. Okay, so the first expression n, which is equal to p by q. Let me start the Excel because that will help us to calculate on the fly. And here we can check by changing the input numbers how the ciphertext are decrypted or a plain text is encrypted. Those things we can practice now. Put it here. Okay, I think this is enough. Yeah. So what is my P? P equal to 53 and my Q equal to 59 and number MO equal to 8. What I'm doing now, I'm calculating N, which is equal to C2 multiplied by C2. So which is 3127. You can see the output also here. So based on that, I have to identify the value E and D. E and D, I have to calculate E and D. For which, then again, I'm calculating the T, which is equal to which is P minus 1 into C2 minus 1 multiplied by C2 minus 1, which is 3016. Okay. And using these two values, I'm calculating for E in range 2 to D, I'm calculating GCD E comma T till I'm calculating the E value. So what will happen now? 2 it is going to repeat 223016 times, and for each number it is going to find out the GCD. If GCD equal to 1, it will break. So can you tell me for which number it will return 1? Don't know, right? Let me print here. E, comma, T. Let us run again. We will come to know for which number it is returning. 53 and 59 and 8. E equal to 3, T equal to 3 and 306, 3016. So E equal to 3, T equal to 3016. In my calculation, E equal to 3. I will comment this. Then for range I equal to 1 to 10, for T equal to into text, just identifying T here, X equal to 1 plus I into 10, I into T. Then if divisible by 3, I'm breaking and identify D here. D here, so we will come to know what is D. Print D here and then run again. So D, the system find D equal to 2011. D equal to 2011. These two numbers are important, E and D. After this, we are having a calculation CTT equal to decimal of 0. Then CTT is raised to power. It is given plain text raised to power n. So what will be CTT? So CTT equal to power of C4 raised to C8 E, correct? Which is equal to 512. Then CT equal to CT percentage n, which is mod of CTT is 5112, n equal to 3127, which is same number because that is bigger number. So then similarly we are calculating DTT equal to power of CT, yeah, power of CT, comma, this 201, which is going to throw some number error. D. This one Excel cannot calculate because of very big number. Let me print here to identify the number, then run again. Just that power raising Excel cannot do. You see that DTT is very big number. You will realize that that's why Excel throw error, numeric error. Very big number. Oh my God. Wow. Oh. I did not expect this big number because this is power of 512 raised to 2011. That's the reason why it throw error. But when we take the mod of n, that will boil down to, let me take this number. See, I'm purposefully going step by step such that you will understand how the numbers are being calculated and being used. Let's say that, sorry. Print the
Print DT instead of DT.
oh, sorry, it should be D. Oh, correct. It should be DT. I wonder why it is again printing the big number. 8. Yeah. If you see the DT is, where did I print the number? 8. So, the other print. So this is one print. D, which is 2011. And there is another print. Usually what I will do TP test point, something like this, which will help you to understand which print I am seeing. TP3, it's coming here 35. In our case, in our 53 and 59, it will be 8. You see TP3 equal to 8 here. So DT equal to, as per this logic, DT equal to 8. Let me write this here. We need DT only, which is 8. Then we have the formula. Decrypted text, which is DT. Cipher text is the CT. Okay. So CT is 512, DT is 8, our original text. The formula are simply implemented from scratch. They are not using any special packages. Let's go back to our formula here. RSA you can see here RSA given text equal to message raised to power D mod of n, and cipher text equal to mod of, this is cipher text, right? Verification will be, let's see here. This is RSA. It should be your DT will be this formula. DT will be your cipher text raised to power D mod of n. Okay. Does it make sense? These two lines, line number 277 to 333. Actually, these are key lines. This is creating the cipher text. This is calculating decrypt text from your cipher text. So the basic operation is power of m power e mod n. This is C power D. C is where C is your cipher text. C power D mod n. So only these two operations are helping us to encrypt and decrypt a given message. So in this case, the given message is 8. See, for example, if you take ASCII code 65, right? 65 is for A. Let us try that 65 with our module. RSA scratch. This is the same key, 53, 59. The message is A, which is 65. When it is transferred as 2576. But when you decrypt, it will be decrypted back to 65. Now I am open for questions because I believe that understanding each and every line in this program is paramount for continuing our other discussions. It is very simple. We have only one GCD function, which is also mathematically everyone know how it is calculating greatest common divisor. Okay. Do you have any question now? If no,
Hi KG, one question actually. This is
yes,
Raj.
Rashekar.
So generally, it is said that we will not be able to break, right? For instance, now that we know how we are encrypting it, the 8 into a different number and transmitting it. So is it like we can do a reverse process to get data because we know the formulas?
Cannot. That is the thing, right? Because RSA algorithms, if we know, see, public key is available, the
Right.
E is available to everyone, but D is secret.
Right.
Without D, you can't decrypt.
And that D changes dynamically, or is it constant?
No.
In black?
That is the private key which is shared with the at the decrypt at the Bob side, the receiver
Okay.
side.
Okay.
You can imagine this way: the D is your ATM pin.
Right. Okay.
Indeed, this is ATM pin. The D is your
Okay.
ATM pin. When you enter your ATM pin, then that will be converted as D and it is multiplied appropriately with your cipher text being sent from bank. Bank uses E at the encryption side. At the bank server will use E for encrypting your balance, whatever information you are asking from their server. It will serialize and then transmitted to your ATM machine. At the ATM machine, when you enter, after you enter your ATM pin, that ATM pin will be used to calculate your D value. Then that D will be applied to your authentication, verification.
Okay. Right.
This is how security system works. Any
Yeah,
other questions?
So as
Yeah,
long
yes.
as D is secured.
Yeah, as long as D is secured, your information is, your money is secured.
Right.
Any other
Thanks.
questions? Yeah, welcome, Rashekar. Any other question?
Can there be multiple values of D?
Multiply?
Multiple values of D.
Cannot be.
Cannot
That is the power of factorization, right? So, and we choose, see, in this case, we chose 53 and 59. 53 and 59, two prime factors, right?
Yeah.
And the common factor for 53 and 59 will be unique.
Yeah.
That's why we select 53 and 59. Instead of 59, if we chose 55, what will happen? There will be two common factors. So the algorithm will not select two prime numbers which will have multiple GCDs or multiple common divisors. There will be a unique common divisor, which is E and D.
Okay.
Yeah. And in the production system, these numbers will be very, very large, 1024 bit or 2048 bit. With that kind of size, it is impossible to break these numbers. So for example, we know that it is using GCD operator. So it is easy to calculate GCD for 53 and 59. Even an Excel will do, right? GCD of 53, 59 is one. And for the another one, it will be, okay, sorry, it should be 2,53. 53. Then next one will be GCD 2, 52. Then 51. So if you do brute force, you will come to know, if you repeat this for 53 and 59, you can identify the common divisor. You can easily come to that D, which is D value. What is the D value? Yeah, 2011. You can easily come out. You can easily find out. Yeah, because we have to identify GCD between 2 to 3016, right?
Yeah.
So if you repeat for 3015 times, you can identify D equal to 2011. Then you can use the D number for decrypting. But in case of, if the number is 50 instead of 53, 59, if you have very big number, very big prime number, it is impossible by brute force or repeated approach.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, if you choose 133 and 137, I think these two are prime numbers, right? Let us try with this number. I think 133 is a prime number, right? 133 and 137. And if I go 65, now it is working fine. And here D equal to 7191. Earlier you might have found easily because it is only 53, but now you see here N equal to 18221. So you have to repeat 18,220 times. And if I move this to 4-digit number, a 4-digit prime number, maybe 1567. I think this is a prime number, right? Yeah, 1567 is a prime number. And next another prime number, let us choose 2781. 2781 is prime now, right? Algorithm to find T prime. Let us try this number 1561 2781. I believe 2781 is a prime number. What are the two numbers? 1567 and 2781. 65. See, even for these numbers, our program is taking time.
Yep. So kind of when it comes to real time, it will take a lot of time, and then the data won't.
Yeah, and even we know the formula clearly. Even here, it is taking this much of time to calculate.
Yep.
Then think about, if you have a 1024-bit number, you see.
Yep.
And this is wrong. One of the number is not a prime number.
Yep.
Yeah, the second one.
I don't know which one is not a prime number.
So the
Q.
2781 is not.
because it's
Q is
divisible by
Oh.
3. Yeah.
3, right? 27 is 9, 81 is, okay. Shall I put 83? I remember one of the numbers is prime, but I forgot 81 or 83. Let me try. 1, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, it might be prime.
I don't think it's prime either.
But now you realize that if you don't give prime number, the calculation will not happen correctly.
Yep.
So selection of two big prime number is the key here. Okay, so any other questions? Now we are moving to other simple programs. Then we will see key management. Okay. Any other question? Okay. Now we are going to see an important package in Python, which is called cryptography. Let me start with the basic encryption decryption, which is a key generation module. This key generation module is called Fernet. This Fernet is the key generation module, and it is a part of a package called cryptography. You should read this to understand cryptography in Python. Yeah, it is called PyCA. This is the documentation. if you are serious about pursuing cryptography in Python, this is going to be your reference point, or at least for at the year 2020. Okay, and they maintain their modules into two layers: recipes layer and hazmat layer. The recipes layers are easiest one. You can play around without knowing anything. Meaning that, see, for example, key generation is not a harmful operation. You can do it. Just you select you choose this Fernet generate key. It will generate the key. Okay, and but anything in this hazardous material layer, they are actual cryptography, and you should know what are you doing when you are building solution using these hazardous materials layer modules. So first we will see how to create a key. Before that, if your Python environment does not have this cryptography, this is the command you have to use to install pip install cryptography. Hope everyone is comfortable running pip install in their system, correct? Can you vote? How many of you having Anaconda environment? Please vote in your chat window. Who are using Anaconda? Please vote here. Vaibhav, Subham, Harshit, Rajshekhar. Only 4. Okay. What about others? If they are not using Anaconda, which environment they are using? Or anybody is from Linux world? Ubuntu, Linux world? Ubuntu? Richa Visual Code. Okay, right. VS Code. Okay. Okay, there are 5 Anaconda. Let me mark it down. Because why I'm asking here, because this environment is an important one. So VS Code 2, Anaconda. So for 5. What about others? VS Code 3 and Visual Studio. Richa, is it Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio 2017 or 2019?
It is a Visual Studio Code.
Oh, Visual Studio Code. Then I coded correctly.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one mostly we are using for Angular. Same thing, I think.
Oh, okay. You are continuing with the Visual Code. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 8 responses came. We are 13 people. At least I'm expecting another 4. Anybody from Ubuntu world? Okay, no one is in from Linux. What about other 4? Because I want to see, is there any different environment? Ustad and Samruta. Pradeep. Okay. Oh, okay. Mahima is Mac. Okay. And that is, I think, Mac we can consider, if you are using command line predominantly, you can consider the Ubuntu Linux environment. Okay, never mind. Personally, I prefer Ubuntu, but this laptop is Windows, but my personal desktop is Ubuntu. So Ubuntu, there are no any compatibility issue. Almost all cryptography packages will seamlessly get installed in your Ubuntu environment. If you are using Windows, oh, okay, Samruddha, no problem. And Mac also very compatible. It will seamlessly install all the packages, but Windows will give some issues. And that if you face any VS14 Visual Studio 14 library error, you can, instead of cryptography, you can go for PyCryptoDome. There is a package called PyCryptoDome. You can install that one. Other than that, cryptography is cool one for learning at the beginner level. Cryptography is a good package. Okay, let us continue with the next basic program, which is going to create a key. Because key generation is an important aspect. It is a key concept, right? In any cryptography, key generation. We are going to see Fernet, and this password, this word password, this is our input, or it is like a feeding, because the randomness or this password will be used for creating your key. So selecting this password is important one. Let us keep it just password, then run again. It's very simple program. Just you are using PBK. I will explain what is PBK, DF2H mark, and you can see here it is using SHA-256 hash algorithm. Let me go to command prompt. Python. What is the program name? Basic encryption. The message, the original message is secret message, which is encrypted like this. This is your encrypted message. And this one, you may look like, okay, this is not very, what is called, let me get an input from here, then do it. Yes, input equal to input, enter your message. And let us feed that message to let us see whether this program is correctly encrypting and decrypting. It's asking for enter your message. It's throwing error, right? Because it should be converted into byte. So the string must be converted into byte. Convert that into byte. Anybody knows how to convert string into byte? This is, yeah, this is byte array. I have to use byte array. I forgot the syntax. That's why I'm searching for this one. Byte array. Let us run again. So if you can't directly convert the string, it should be converted into byte array. String argument without encoding. B.extend. We are using this approach. Extend. B here. This byte array intricacies are what mistake I'm doing here. Okay, B equal to S dot encode ASCII. Let us put this approach. S dot encode ASCII. S dot S input dot encode. Yeah. So if you convert that into a ASCII bytes, that will be, this is the encrypted string and which will be transmitted. This is the decrypted at the end. If they know the key, you have to transmit the key to them. This is the key, right? Let us see what is the value of key. Just I'm curious to see what is the value of key. How it looks like. So key is another, again, something like this. It is appearing like this. Are you able to make it out? Is that this is the key is available anywhere here? Just I'm curious. If you know the key, is it possible to break the message? It's not possible, right? Anybody have idea? Or hacker here?
I guess the key is the encoding. Maybe like the message is kind of getting converted into, like, if I'm not pretty sure about that, but something like definitely if you have the key, you can decode it. But how to do it? Because I still need to look at the code to kind of how this thing is working. So yeah, I think
I'm trying from cryptanalysis perspective. Somehow you get the key. Is it possible to decipher the message by cryptanalysis? Okay, but the Fernet object will perform the decrypt and encrypt. But if you don't use Fernet and you don't have any computer, you have only this message intercepted by your spy device. Probably do the cryptanalysis. No, man, that is not our focus. But still, it is. I'm throwing this question for interest, or if you are curious about how we can do cryptanalysis, you can think about this way.
Yeah,
Because this is
it's
the
like
key.
we can think of mapping. If you don't have any support from computer side, we think of mapping, each digit. And I mean, it's very tough. May not be practical, but
Yeah, I remember a lot of movies where they are performing cryptanalysis. There they do that one, decipher all those things. But if you think about in practical hacking or cryptanalysis, the toughest job.
I think some dictionary, a predefined dictionary we can use to map everything.
If you know the key, right? If you know the key, we can create a predefined dictionary on the fly.
Yeah.
If you don't know the key, can you create dictionary?
No, that time I think we can't create, but if
We can't do, yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct. If you have the key, somehow we intercepted the key, it is possible. If not, I don't think we can perform cryptanalysis. Okay, never mind. But this is very fundamental concept, right? And let me see, changing the password to any other word, will it make any sense? Let me put it all 111. Then do the same thing here. I'm just randomly trying to see what is happening to this key. Every time the key is changing, right? Just I want to see whether the key is same every time. You see here, it is changing. Every time it is changing. Do you know why it is changing every time? It is because of this salt. You see this salt? the salt is the component which is causing the randomness. Where is salt is used? Which is, yeah, here is the yeah, line number 12. Salt is used, right? If you don't use salt and instead of random, you put salt, assume that 45 is the salt. You are assuming that a fixed value to the salt. Let us see how the value. Oh, you can't give salt, must be bytes. So let us convert this into still it is 45 only. Okay. Now you see the key, it is same key now also. Do you understand? If the salt is not random, you will get the same key. This is the problem, or kind of problem in Sony PlayStation. Remember 2013 or 2014, there was a
yes, the game
incident in Sony PlayStation's data where this is the actual problem they made at the time. They used a fixed number as their salt.
Oh.
See, for any programmer, it looks like, okay, why should we use OS random? Let us put a standard number. Nobody is going to look into your key, right? Because the keys are transmitted to different people. How they are come to know that the keys are same, right? But hackers will do this one. See, just I wanted to show you, practically show you. That's the reason why I took a very simple program and showed you multiple aspects. So this password, let us try some other complex number here, complex password, and keep the salt as 45. Let us see how your key is generated. Again, run again. So whatever your password is, but if your salt is not random, you are done. Your security system is compromised. Will be compromised at any cost. If your hacker observe your key transmission for 2 to 3 times, they will come to know that this infrastructure is using fixed key. Then they will hack your communication. After that salt become random. Yeah, question?
So one question, KJ. So
Yes, Rashekar.
so the output, in the output, the token seems to have some similarity. I mean, not entirely, but there is some correlation in the tokens in the output, right? The encrypted token in the output prompt.
Which line you are referring?
Not in the program, but the program output when you ran the.
Okay, let us run again. I'm using salt as a 45 fixed value. So I am running ABCD. Then again I am running. Did not I save it? I am not saved. Sorry, I am not saved. I am running first time. First time I am giving New Delhi. And the key is BEPK, like, right? Next time running. This time I'm giving right. See, the key is same.
Yeah, key is same, but the token, the first few characters are same. The GA.
In the encoded message, right?
Yes.
The encrypted
again, it
cipher
is
text.
still different.
No, I am observing from the beginning onwards. This GAA is remains same. You are right. Your observation is right. I also observed. Just want to make sure these are same. Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, they are same.
Let us check this byte. Obviously, they are not going to be same, but we can see at which byte it is getting changing. It
Okay.
is getting changing from 10th
Uh,
character and 12th character.
Correct.
Because this remains same for almost all encryption, ciphertext, whatever I have just demonstrated now.
Mm. But still difficult to crack
Yeah,
everything.
that's still difficult. Okay, so now you understood the use of salt, right?
Yep.
Because
So
salt is not. Yeah. Yes.
KJ, I had one question. So because now we are using random salt,
Mhm.
so that means random keys will be generated every time.
Correct.
So to decrypt, we need that key. So those keys will also be transmitted via the message, right?
That is the transmission medium. What we are choosing is the another area where those things we will see in the key management section. So if you see in the key management section, the key transmission or key serialization is itself a separate infrastructure.
Okay.
Usually it won't be transmitted using the same infrastructure which is used for transmitting the message.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. We can have break now. Pradeep, thanks for reminding. We'll have a break now. Then we will meet in another 5 minutes. So we will start in 5:60.
There is a logical close, right? Just wanted to check.
No. All the programs are logical. You can start at any programs. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. No
So
problem.
we'll take a 5-minute break now, and we'll come back again.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Thanks, Pradeep.